Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we will discuss The End of Imagination, an article written by Arundhati Roy. So let's begin the video lecture. So The End of Imagination is written by Arundhati Roy, who is a very famous Indian English writer. She doesn't require any special introduction, but however, the sake of an introduction and from the point of view of an examiner, I will provide you some important points that will be helpful for you in writing your introduction about the author. So, Arundhati Roy is a prestigious Indian English writer, and she became an acclaimed writer all over the world through her debut novel, The God of Small Things, which won the Booker Prize in 1997. In this novel, she fictionalizes her own childhood experiences, and the novel is set in Kerala, and she is a Keralite also. Besides an author, she is a social activist who vehemently critiques the unsustainable human development projects, government's nuclear weapons programs, and other initiatives by government and organizations which hamper the day-to-day life of ordinary poor people and which destructs the balance of our environment. Through her writings, she continues to critique the hazardous interventions of globalization and neo-imperialism. So, globalization, all of you know what it is, but neo-imperialism may be a new concept for you. So, neo-imperialism is a new form of imperialism or imperialism in a new way. It approaches developing countries in new avenues. Okay, so imperialism is a political and economic domination of a nation over other countries. So neo-imperialism means the political and economic domination in new ways or new avatars over the developing countries. For instance, most of the developing countries are now these days controlled by the World Economic Forums like IMF and World Bank. So her works underscore the severe impact of globalization, neo-imperialism, and neo-capitalism on ordinary human beings. So neo-capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership of capital. So, by neo-capitalism, it means that how the elite class, the business class, or the multinational companies control the market, and how the market trends, the business trends, the development of public policies are influenced by the business class or the multinational companies. All these comprise neo-capitalism. So the article, The End of Imagination, was later appeared in her The Algebra of Infinite Justice, which is an essay collection, a non-fictional work. And this work was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award in 2006. However, Arundhati Roy chose to decline the award because she felt that receiving an award from a government agency for critiquing the same government was not right. So let's move on to the chapter. The End of Imagination was actually published in a newspaper, then later it was included in the collection of essays titled The Cost of Living by Arundhati Roy. So the articles or essays in this collection actually challenge the idea of development at the cost of common man's and nature's safety. Okay, and this particular essay, The End of Imagination, focuses on the government, the ruling government at that time, and its national nuclear weapon development projects. The End of Imagination criticizes the government of India's nuclear weapons development policies, in particular, and how the nuclear war can impact huge havoc on humanity. The main concerns of the article are the perils caused by nuclear weapons, the subsequent environmental hazards, the dreadful impact they have on humanity, the dire need to have a proper understanding of the scenario, and the need to develop a strong commitment to society in order to question, challenge, and protest against irrational approaches of the ruling governments. So, in the essay, the author tries to enlighten the readers about the huge impact of nuclear weapons on the day to day life of ordinary people as well as the nature. The crucial elements that the article dwells upon in an exclusive and elaborate manner renders it as a powerful and insightful text. So it has a very sharp language. The author uses sarcasm, irony to impress upon and inculcate the idea and the dangers of nuclear weapons and its development by world countries. So the next point that the author discusses is that she opens the essay or the article with an excerpt from a newspaper report that appeared in India Today in May 1998 after the Pokhran 2 or Operation Shakti, which is a series of 5 nuclear weapon tests conducted by India. So that particular news report describes the kind of huge impact those nuclear weapons tests had on the Earth's surface. So Arundhati Roy begins the article in an ironic tone, stating that May 1998, which is considered as a very historical and defining moment in the history of India, when Pokhran 2 happened, will become a milestone in the history of India. However, she warns that the country may not have a future where children would study about this moment in their history textbooks. So she warns an impending nuclear war, like every country is developing its nuclear arsenal, and if one day any country decides to go on a nuclear war, the disaster will be huge and humanity will be completely wiped out. And in such a scenario, there won't be any human being to read or study and cherish this historical moment. She is critiquing severely. Sarcasm or sarcastic remark is being expressed there. The author states that she feels humiliated to initiate a discussion on nuclear weapons and the hazards on both human life and nature, as all over the world, social activists, scientists, environmentalists, and so on have deliberated on the same topic countless times. So, nuclear weapons, its impending dangers, all these things have been discussed many times by social activists, environmentalists, and scientists, and so on. But still, the governments, the world continues to procure and develop nuclear weapons. So she feels disgusted to initiate the same discussion over again. But nevertheless, the author will still continue to speak up against government's irrational policies on nuclear weapons because she believes that being silent will only worsen the scenario. So, remaining silent, behaving like a good child before the government's irrational policies, not challenging or questioning them, will worsen the scenario. Drastic impact will happen on the normal citizens' life. So it's very important to question such kind of policies. So she implores all. Here, please note, it's not just the Indian citizens, but she calls forth all people all over the world to join her in the fight against the development of nuclear ammunition instead of continuing to live as mere puppets. She warns that it is high time to react, or else the future generation will suffer severe consequences. So, if we don't react now, the kind of consequences that we and the future generation will face will be unimaginable. We can even now find the consequences of our irrational encroachment into nature. The recent incidences that have been happening in our country are itself examples. The kind of heat wave impact that we had in Kerala, the rising temperatures, and the kind of heat wave that is still being experienced in North India, the landslide that happened recently, and the rescue efforts that are going on for Arjun, and the recent incident that happened in Amayiranjan Todu, where one life was destroyed. So all these things indicate how human beings, how governments have been treating nature, ecology, and the environmental balance is being disrupted constantly, and nature will retaliate for all these impacts that we effect upon her. So she states that citizens are lagging behind in understanding the perils posed by nuclear weapons. So we don't actually understand the magnitude of the perils that a nuclear weapon can pose on our lives. Ruling governments have been using the same old story of Pakistan as an enemy state to highlight the need of developing nuclear weapons. So we always pose Pakistan or China or other country as our enemy to argue or defend our need to develop nuclear weapons or increase more ammunitions. If we take our budget uh, for all these years, we can find that a huge amount has been allocated for defense purposes, but when the amount allocated for educational purposes are compared, it is very minuscule. Such huge amounts are being always stashed away for defense purposes in the name of protecting our borders, our country. So protecting our borders are important, but mindlessly developing nuclear weapons for the sake of protection can't be justified. That's what author tries to convey. So she remarks that citizens have been believing in this logic for a long time, which has made all of us well behaved, gullible subjects. Gullible subjects means people who get cheated very easily. So we are being cheated, we are being made fool of by all the coming and ruling governments, all the organizations who support the procurement of nuclear weapons all over the world. She states that nuclear war is very different war fought between it's very different from a war fought between soldiers on a battlefield. So on a battlefield, real people fight each other. So the people who get harmed are the people who are on the battlefield. But if we put a bomb or if we fire through air attack, air strike, all these happen. Ordinary people are also affected. So many women, young children are also killed. So, a battle that happens on a war field is entirely different from a nuclear war. However, in a nuclear war, it will not be the nations who fight over nation or national territories, but the nature will become our foe or enemy. So she states that if a nuclear war occurs, who will be the enemy? It's not another nation or a group of countries or mere people, but the earth itself, sorry, the earth herself will become our enemy. So, how does the earth become our enemy? So we don't need an elaborate explanation on that because the examples of Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic attacks, those incidents enough speak a huge amount about the impact of nuclear war or nuclear attack. So Arundhati Roy, in a sharp and ironic way, states the unchangeable impact a nuclear attack can effect on Earth in the article. Everything will be burned down, she states. The air will be polluted due to the huge smoke emerging from the ashes. The whole atmosphere will become uninhabitable for living beings. Water will be contaminated as radioactive elements will pollute the water resources. So she elaborately and in a very pictorial manner describes the huge devastation, the magnitude of the huge devastation that will occur if a nuclear war happens. She employs penetrating images of the destruction and the aftermath through the presentation of a possible fight for food between rats, cockroaches, and the people who have survived the calamity. So, in a with a very sharp tongue, she says that only the rats and cockroaches will survive a nuclear war, and if at all any human being survives the nuclear war, they will have to fight with rats and cockroaches for whatever food is remaining. This itself shows the kind of havoc that a nuclear war can impact on us. Every human achievement will be destroyed and every natural resource will be polluted, and people will be rendered blind, amputated, and suffering from cancer. So after a nuclear war, what awaits us, the future that awaits us is so bleak and dark. She mocks the claim made by the organizations developing nuclear weapons, the ruling government that justifies the need for such ammunitions. At this juncture, she attempts to disclose the dangers posed by pro- the dangers of the notion proposed by the government for developing nuclear weapons. So she states that the ruling governments argue or try to defend their choice to develop nuclear weapons with a particular terminology or a particular concept, and this concept is called the theory of deterrence. So this particular notion is very important from the point of exam point of view. So I will discuss this notion in a very detailed manner. Let's look at what the theory of deterrence actually means. Okay. The theory of deterrence is a very significant concept in this particular essay because Arundhati Roy challenges and debunks this particular notion. The need for nuclear power is propagated by the government through the theory of deterrence. Deterrence means a form of intimidation or warning to stop someone from engaging in something by stating a huge consequence if the person or the governments or the country unheeds the warning. So it's a form of warning. So if you go into the theater for to see a movie, some of the ads that will be a kind of warning against smoking. So it shows the kind of hazards that smoking leads to. Severe cancers are developed due to smoking. So the images or the video that are the videos that are shown or displayed on the screen make us cringe. So seeing that the kind of ramifications that happen due to smoking, when we see it visually, we tend to stop smoking, or we will never think about smoking. That's what these ads are meant for. So they are a form of deterrence. Okay, they are a form of a warning and a form of awareness. So the theory of deterrence is in a way a warning to stop the enemies from attacking the nation. So the government uses nuclear weapons as a warning sign to the enemy nations so that we can prevent ourselves from being attacked. The government state that it was the theory of deterrence that prevented the Cold War from turning into the Third World War and continues to prevent other wars. So there is a common belief that it was the fear of a nuclear attack and the kind of disaster it can create that actually led to the conversion of Cold War into another World War. So we have two World Wars, First World War and Second World War. In Second World War, casualties were very severe. So this thing or the presence of or the existence of nuclear weapons are actually putting a halt on the emergence of a third world war. That's what being said or spread all over the world all these years. However, the author disagrees because, as the author rightly says, many minor and major wars have happened all over the world, and a third world war may happen any time in future, as the theory of deterrence does not have the capacity to halt wars. So the author is continuously stating that the theory of deterrence has or it can't hold off another war. Okay, it can't prevent another war. It hasn't that much of a capacity to prevent another war, because already so many wars have happened. We have been seeing wars between many countries, and we haven't seen a third world war, but that doesn't mean it won't happen in future. So why does the author state that theory of deterrence doesn't have the capacity to prevent another war? So let's see her arguments. Okay. So she states that the theory of deterrence have some fundamental flaws. So she points out two important flaws or defects in this particular theory. So the first flaw is the theory and its propagators believe that the psyche of one's enemy can be understood in a thorough and sophisticated manner. So, the theory of deterrence tries to propose that we can understand the psychology of our enemies through this particular theory. The theory is based on the perspective or premise that fear of annihilation can prevent enemy attack. So this theory, according to the theory of deterrence, it is believed that the fear of annihilation, that you will get destroyed, this fear actually prevents the enemy from attacking. So as we had discussed earlier, the impact of nuclear weapons attack or a nuclear war is actually preventing the emergence of another world war. So she states that both these points are wrong. So let's see why these are a fatal flaw. So the first reason is that if we consider a suicide bomber or a terrorist's mentality, according to the theory, we can't understand their mentality. So a suicide bomber is ready to die for his cause or his belief, and same goes with the terrorists. They are ready to kill and die for what they believe, what ideology they are believing in. So, suicide bombers or terrorist mentality cannot be changed by theory of deterrence. So, she gives some examples. Like she refers to Rajiv Gandhi's in death, how he was killed in a bomb attack, and how Mumbai terror attacks happened, and the terrorists that killed a lot of people. So she cites particularly Rajiv Gandhi incident. Mumbai terror attack incident is referred to by me. The idea of enemy and victim in this context is problematic according to Arundhati Roy, because governments change after a particular term of their political rule, and when each government comes, each government represents their own political agenda or their party agenda. So, as the ruling parties come and go, the policies, the representations, their beliefs keep on changing. So, who is the enemy and who is the victim? That becomes a very questionable notion. So, here the governments is meant as political parties or the ruling parties, the ruling parties that rule our country. Okay, so the enemy and victim, like we say, India and Pakistan. Pakistan is our enemy, and India, we have a what disturbed relationship with the other country. And if Pakistan attacks and we retaliate, who suffers? Most probably, the ordinary people in Pakistan and India will suffer. So the people on the across the border are also human beings, and we are also human beings. So that doesn't make us and them as victims and enemies. So she challenges this whole notion of being we being a victim and they being an enemy. We are all one in a sense. We are all world citizens. Then next she argues, if one country attacks another country, the casualties are chiefly suffered by ordinary people across the border. So that's what I have explained. So now let's look at the second flaw. The theory of deterrence is based on fear principle. But fear emerges due to the knowledge or awareness or understanding of the havoc nuclear war can wreak. So, theory of deterrence is completely based on the fear of annihilation principle. And how does this feeling of fear emerge? It's through our knowledge or understanding or awareness of the kind of impact, the huge magnitude of the havoc or the disintegration that or destruction a nuclear war can impact on humanity. So it is not the principle of mindless fear of governments annihilating the enemy, but the awareness created through the efforts made by social activists, social reformers, creative artists, environmentalists, social critics, and so on, to the extent of annihilation a nuclear war can cause. The author is stating that it's not the fear that is caused by the development of nuclear weapons that is actually preventing a third world war, but the fear of the understanding of the impact of disaster a nuclear weapon or a nuclear war can create. That is what is actually preventing another world war. And this kind of an awareness is not created by or created through the development of nuclear weapons by our governments, but the countless efforts of social activists, social reformers, creative artists, environmentalists, and social critics, and so on. Like there are countless movies that portray the huge disaster affected by the Second World War, how Jews were exterminated during the Nazi rule. All these have movies depicted so wonderfully and poignantly that we feel so when we see those movies, we feel so painful. And we think how much pain and violence the people of that time had suffered. So it creates an awareness in our mind that war is not good. It doesn't bring in any form of victory. So why this fear principle that the governments constantly project becomes a flaw, according to the author? Arundhati Roy states that unless illiteracy, ignorance, inequality, poverty, and other social evils are not eradicated, no theory of deterrence has the power to stop an impending war. So the author is saying that countless efforts by social activists, social critics, creative artists who create an awareness about the impact of world war, this will also go in vain, along with the theory of deterrence, unless we do not eradicate the social evils that are prevalent in most of the developing countries, like ignorance, illiteracy, inequality, poverty, different kinds of social evils, the lack of protecting nature, the environmental hazards created due to the irrational encroachment of people. All these need to be stopped or eradicated to prevent another world war. It's not the theory of deterrence that we need to propagate. It's not that we need more and more nuclear weapons, but it is proper fundings for making our citizens literate, reducing poverty, reducing inequality, uh, is what is needed to prevent another world war. So, the author is stating that soon we will be pushed into that kind of a scenario. Next, she heightens the sarcasm by stating that soon nuclear weapons will be sold in global market where anyone can buy one to threaten their own enemy. So she states that even she can buy a nuclear bomb if she has the financial support, or if she can afford a nuclear bomb. She can buy and she can use it to threaten anyone. So that kind of a scenario will emerge, and this will be an alarming situation according to the authors. Um, description. Okay, so now let's move on to the consequences of the theory of deterrence. So there are certain consequences if we follow the theory of deterrence mindlessly. So these are, the first one is, in future, this will lead to the establishment of a new world order, that is the dictatorship of the pro-nuke elite. So a new world order means how the world systems work. Okay, how world carries on its day-to-day affair. So there is already a system like that, and that's how we function systematically in a democracy and in a global way. But in future, what kind of a system will be established? The dictatorship of the pro-nuke elite. Pro-nuke elite means progressive nuclear elite. That is, those elite community who can afford and support nuclear weapons possession. Okay, so those who can procure or those who can buy nuclear weapons for themselves. So if they have nuclear weapons enough to threat another person, then they will rule the world. Okay, so that kind of a scenario will emerge. So that's the first fundamental consequence that the theory of deterrence can accompany. Okay. The second one is the pro elite can threaten or pose danger to anyone who is considered as a hindrance to their personal aggrandizement. So, those who feel that someone is causing a hurdle to their business or their venture, and if they procure or have a nuclear weapon, they can threaten the other person very easily. That kind of a situation will be created. The author says that we have a dangerous future to look forward to. So, if this kind of a situation emerges, and the future will be very bleak and dark. So, as a conclusion, the author makes very succinct and striking points. So, towards the end of the essay, Arundhati Roy credits the United States of America for making the situation worse. Actually, United States, USA dropped the atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and giving an awareness of the kind of power that nuclear weapons hold, and making every nation desire for one. So that's why she credits USA for that. So here she refers to the nuclear attack on Japan in general and creating fissures between nations with the agenda to retail ammunition and other personal benefits. So if a war happens between two countries, definitely there will be a requirement for ammunition, and if they don't have their own weapons, what is the next option? To buy it from others who have it in store. So the countries who have a lot of ammunitions, they can sell them at high price in a war-torn situation. So this kind of a context will be erased, and USA has done that during the Second World War, particularly. So these historical moments are being referred to by the author. She reminds the reader that uh, procuring nuclear weapons itself is dangerous. So, developing nuclear weapons, having it to yourself is very dangerous. And why is it so? Because their very existence controls citizens' thought process. So, imagine if someone has a nuclear weapon, and they try to threaten you, saying that I have a nuclear weapon and I will use it on you if you don't listen to my demands or if you don't agree to my demands. That itself is being controlled by the other person. So the thought of nuclear weapons in our mind tries to control our thoughts, our imaginations, our beliefs, our dreams, and the way we behave. That's what the author says. So that makes us a puppet, a mere puppet at the hands of dictators. Finally, she addresses every human being, irrespective of their gender, caste, class, religion, nationality, to unite their hands in the fight against nuclear weapon development as it poses grave threat to humanity. So she urges everyone. She particularly states that I am not urging only Indians. I am urging each and every person. Pakistani, Japanese, Russian, American, everyone, boy, girl, child, mother, father, Hindu, Muslim, everyone, irrespective of all these categories, we have to unite and fight against the nuclear weapon development program. If we don't do that, she warns, no one will be spared in a nuclear war, whether it's active or passive. Like she is stating that it doesn't matter if the war has happened. Even before that, the radioactive elements have started to work within our bodies. That is, it has multiple layers of meanings. Uh, First one is if we use the um, nuclear weapons for test practices itself, the radioactive elements, there are high chances that these radioactive elements seep through soil and to the ground water, and the natural resources will be polluted, and this pollution will ultimately reach to the um, food chain and naturally to our own bodies, causing severe diseases like cancer. So, even before the advent of a impending nuclear war, we are already radioactive. We are already suffering the after effects of developing nuclear weapons. So that's how she concludes the essay. She ends it with a very strong warning. If we don't act now, it will be very late. So thank you. I hope you have understood the essay very thoroughly. Um, so I am very happy to have presented it for all of you. Um, Thank you so much. Uh, Sorry for the illegible handwriting, because last year, towards the end of last year, I had an accident, and I had multiple fractures in my arms. So I have lost flexibility in my arms. So it's a bit difficult for me to write. Despite that, I have tried to make this lecture so that it will be useful and helpful for you in your exams. Another important thing I wanted to discuss is that this particular chapter, you will get definitely one question from this chapter. Last year also, three questions have come in the question paper of university exam from this chapter. You will definitely get a 50-word question, a 100-word question, and an essay question from this particular article. So please don't think about skipping it. It's unavoidable from the exam point of view. So I hope this video has helped you. Please support me so that I can bring lectures like these that are beneficial for students. Thank you so much, and please like, share, and subscribe, and do leave comments. Your feedbacks are very helpful. Thank you.